So the games are coming thick and fast, the Blues now, and as the Christmas period approaches, there's lots of games to look forward to. Next up is Cardiff at the Cardiff City Stadium, and I'm joined here by Tomas from Sport Addict Corner. How are you doing, Tomas?
I'm doing good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. We were just sort of speaking then before we went on about, the fact that Birmingham's record is not too great at the moment, and we're coming off the back of a 2-0 defeat against Coventry City, which was shown live on Sky Sports on Friday. And as for you guys, sort of your form at the moment, it's been a bit up and down. In seventh place at the moment, doing pretty well this season. So how would you sort of summarise how things have gone?
It's been pretty mental, in all honesty, especially how the last 2 years have gone. We were just hoping that we could have not boring, but just just a season where we're kept out of the headlines for stuff on and off the pitch, and maybe a 12th place finish, just to steady the ship after 2 absolutely mental years, just to just get a little bit of normality back. But yeah, we've massively exceeded quite a lot of expectation from not only ourselves, but I think probably from the rest of the league as well. I think when you look at how the club was last year, how we stayed up only really by the skin of our teeth, appointed a new manager that nobody'd really heard of, and mixed in with the transfer ban that we had in the summer. You can kind of see why people thought maybe we'd be a bit further down the table, maybe a bit closer to a bit of a relegation scrap. But no, yeah, it's been great so far.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, seventh place, you're on 30 points at the moment, and you're 6 points better off, this season you were this time last season. So it's looking good for you guys. And in terms of, obviously, you spoke about the manager there, Errol Ballou, coming in June, bit of an unknown entity sort of to people outside of, Turkey, because that's where he sort of came from. So what have you sort of seen from him so far that has made you sort of think, wow, this guy could maybe take us into the playoffs? Because seventh place at the moment, you never know.
He's brought a bit of identity back to the club. He's just completely taken like a duck to water. He's so passionate about the team. I think in a weird way, it sort of helped that we were under a bit of a transfer ban in the summer, so that we had to be kind of a little bit more careful in terms of what we do in the market. We had to make use of the free agency market. We had to be careful in terms of loan market, because you only get so many players you can get on loan. And in honesty, I don't think we could have done much better if we had cash to spend. It'd have been nice to get 1 or 2 bodies through as well. And maybe it's, with kind of up and down in form a little bit. Nothing as crazy as last year or the years prior. Sometimes there's a few times where we've lost 2 games in a row and had the odd boring 0-0 draw where, maybe if there was just another person to come in, maybe they could have turned those into wins or draws. But yeah, he's just, he's completely just engulfed what it is to be a Cardiff City manager. He loves the team. He's made the team his own, which is a bit of a problem we've had with a few other coaches. I don't think they really knew who their best starting 11 was at times. But his personality is just so infectious. The passion he has for the game is amazing. And it's just, and it shows with just little things as well. So the week before the Swansea game, he went into a pub called the City Arms in Cardiff, and he just chatted to the fans there. And he's always just happy to chat to the supporters as well, whether he's walking about town, whether he's in a restaurant, wherever. So he's really taken to Cardiff, and we've just completely embraced him as well. So it feels, for the first time forever, it's weird. It feels like there's a good bit of rapport between us. There's a good feeling between the club and the fans again.
Exactly. And I think it's one of the things that Birmingham fans can relate to, in the fact that sort of when the ownership is so sort of far off in their own way, that then establishing a connection between the manager and the sort of fans is a bit hard, because obviously the manager has his hands tied behind his back for, reasons that were out of his control, obviously with you guys, having your thing in the summer. But despite that, I mean, you've brought in some decent players. I mean, Aaron Ramsey, obviously a bit of an emotional reunion, albeit not having played too much recently because of his injury, and sort of replacing the goals from last season, because Sorry Cabo was your top goal scorer last season. We were interested in him in the summer, actually, but he decided to go to Spain. I know I'd rather choose between Birmingham and Las Palmas, but yeah, no. In terms of like your sort of goals this season, top goal scorer in all competitions is a Tete. How have you sort of gone with like replacing the goals that Cabba had to what you've got now?
I like what we've done. So instead of having like one out and out player that we're relying on every time for goals, it's a little bit more shared now. So like we don't have that one like 20 goal a season striker. But we've got enough attacking players and midfielders who can contribute to goals as and when they need to. And our defenders are scoring more as well. So Dimitrios Goutas and Perry NG, they've scored a few for us this season as well. And we're making use of set pieces again, which last year we were woeful. Like we were so bad at the set piece. We very, very rarely scored from corners or free kicks. And when it's Cardiff, a team that it has been known for a while to kind of make the most of set pieces, especially in the last promotion year when we went up under Neil Warnock. I think we scored the most from set pieces in the league that season. So, that kind of thing that, it's Cardiff, of course, they're going to be good at set pieces. It's who they are, it's what they do. To get that back along with this kind of new style of play that we can afford to have now with the recruitment that we've done and, the exciting players that we've been able to bring in. It means that we have like two kind of options now. So we can rely on the set piece, as was the case on Saturday against Millwall when things aren't quite going that great, when it's a little bit scrappy, but we can actually create goals from open play as well. So, I wanted us to re-sign Carver in the summer. I thought it was going to be a little bit pie in the sky. I thought it was just a bit of wishful thinking, but part of me thought, what if, like, maybe if he wasn't in the last year of his contract, maybe we could have got him on loan again, or maybe like loan with obligation to buy in January or something. But wasn't to be. But they say never fall in love with a loan signing, because you're just going to end up getting hurt in the long run. And he was absolutely just textbook definition of that.
I mean, Blues fans, we've had that quite a lot recently with loan players sort of, bringing them in and then they go back to their parent clubs and like, oh, if only we had him for another season or two, what could we do really? But yeah, I mean, considering sort of what you're saying about the basics as well, the Warnock season you were saying about when you went up, and just about getting the fundamentals right, really. I think one of the things that Cardiff have done well this season in defence is like the clean sheets, because Ulrich's got 6 clean sheets this season. How much has that sort of contributed to Cardiff's rise in the table?
I think he's been brilliant. He's not really playing at the minute. He's not started the last few games. Renassen's played quite a bit more. I don't know. I think maybe Arsenal have been in touch to say that they want him to play more. Otherwise, they're just going to cancel the loan. And how it gets with the big clubs like that. So maybe it's that sort of thing. So, there was 1 or 2 games where Alnwick's not been amazing, but even still, he's won us so many points this year. And I think kind of having that sort of keeper who that you're confident in and you can put your trust in. And, now we have kind of like an established back four, which we didn't really have at times last season. Everything just feels a lot more solid. And I think, going back to that kind of being good at defending has been just so crucial for us this year. And then, when you can mix that as well with some newer ideas about like more kind of counter-attacking and attacking play, it kind of just morphs up into something quite exciting that we've not really seen for a while at Cardiff.
I think that's one of the things that Blues fans are getting frustrated with at the moment, in the fact that obviously since Rooney took over, our defence has just been leaking so many goals left, right and centre. And one of the things we were good at the start of the season is just the fundamentals, the basics at the back, this stuff where like Eustace, we were pretty solid at the back. Ruddy was keeping clean sheets, but now all of a sudden he looks so shaky in goal. And it's one of the things that we're like so worried about heading into the games now, because we're trying to sort of do this thing where we sort of play from the back. And if that doesn't work, we get caught out with other teams pressing us. And it's one of the things where there's a bit of cause for concern there. But in terms of sort of the game on Wednesday, I mean, the last time we beat Cardiff in Cardiff was 2008. So it's a long time since we
Is it
beat
that
you guys.
long?
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, 10 games since we beat you full stop. Like last time was 2017, and you guys already beat us this season in the League Cup. So I mean, you've got pretty good record against us. But in terms of sort of past fixtures between Birmingham and Cardiff, what can you kind of remember from them?
I remember, it's weird. It always seems like it could be completely wrong, but it always seems like we only ever play you guys at the end of the season or this time of year. Like, I don't really remember playing Birmingham at a time that wasn't like March or April or around Christmas. Like, it's so strange like that. But even with that record, like, I'm never 100% confident whenever we play you guys. It's just, when growing like when younger, watching us lose like 1-0 either at your place or just not playing particularly well against you guys. So it's one that always kind of like gets me a little bit. And it's the promotion season was just textbook that. When we played you guys at Cardiff City Stadium, we were absolutely flying 3-0 up at half time. Even when I'm stood there, I'm like, I'm still not 100% confident. Yeah. And it ended up being 3-2 in the end. So it got closer than it needed to be. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's like, we all have those teams where we're just not ever really that confident whenever we're playing them, regardless of like the form or wherever. But even with, we have a decent record, they're not particularly a bogey team as such. But it's just like, it's just all my memories of watching Cardiff and Birmingham is just us being not that great. So yeah, it's just one of those weird fixtures.
And I seem to remember actually that season where you got promoted, we done you a favour on the final day
Yes.
by beating Fulham. So it meant that you guys went up automatically, and then Fulham went up through the playoffs eventually. But I mean, those times sort of when we were scrapping down the bottom relegation battles, we're kind of looking over our shoulder again, thinking, oh God, another relegation battle incoming. But for you guys, I mean, last season you were 21st in the league, and then this season 7th place. So you're not going to be looking over your shoulder; you're going to be looking upwards. So how does that feel, like all of a sudden to be looking sort of at those playoff positions again, thinking, right, we've got a chance here?
Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't see this coming at all. I thought we'd be probably mid-table, maybe lower end of mid-table, like around the 12th or 13th, and I'd been happy with that because it's like, as long as it's not a relegation scrap going into the Christmas period, that will do me fine. And then maybe we can push for like maybe a plucky 9th come the end of the season with some more bodies in January. But now all of a sudden it's like, right, so who can we actually get in January? Who's a bigger name that we think, could make us genuinely challenge for the playoffs this year? And it's a very strange position to be in. I think just because out of like how unexpected it all was. So I think part of me was like, oh yeah, if we properly get it all together, then we could probably challenge for the playoffs this year. But I was kind of just saying that with my heart, whereas in my head is like, if we get top half, then that would be amazing. And then maybe next season we can think about starting to push for the playoffs a little bit. So it's like just mad how your mentality and your outlook on what I want us to do in the transfer window now in January is just completely switched with, just a half a season so far. Like it still doesn't feel real. It feels like I'm just going to wake up in a minute and we're going to be, I don't know, like 20th or something.
Yeah, and it's one of the things of football, isn't it? Where like one moment you're sort of down the bottom and then next you're up. And that's the championship in general, I think, the way that the league can change so much. But you speak about sort of January in the transfer window. We've had actually a statement today from Gary Cook, our CEO, saying to believe in the current crop of players. And that makes me a little bit worried because I was thinking in January that perhaps Rooney was going to bring in some of his own players. But in terms of what you're expecting in January, like what positions maybe could Cardiff strengthen in? I mean, obviously, I know you've got what's happening at the moment with the restrictions, but what do you think you can do in January to really solidify yourself as playoff contenders?
I think it seems a bit harsh, but I think we do need to kind of go for an established striker. Like it's a position we've had quite a few players dip in and out of all season. But I think if you have that one kind of consistent striker who's performing week in, week out, getting the goals, the name that keeps getting rumoured is Kiefer Moore. Whether that happens, I don't know. Like, I really hope it does for Cardiff and Wales' sake. I think if we can really if we can get him in this team, there's a couple of Welsh internationals anyway, with Ramsey and Ruben Colwill when he plays. I think if they can start to build that little bit of, a link with each other and with the other players we have around him as well, I think he could be great for us. And I think a striker like Kiefer Moore, who's done it at this level before, it could be the difference to maybe finishing like 9th or 10th and making a genuine push for the playoffs. So I think we need to kind of get a striker of that kind of caliber to come in January.
Keith Moore would be a great one, wouldn't it? Heartfelt reunion at Cardiff.
Oh, I'd love it so much.
One of the things where like you really want it to work out for him, not just for Cardiff's sake, but for Wales' sake as well. Yeah. And sort of talking about Wales, one of our players, Jordan James, centre midfielder that's come into form recently for Birmingham, Welsh international. What have you sort of thought about him, watching him play for the country?
I think he's been brilliant. I think he's absolutely outstanding player. He's so mature for his age. I can seriously see him being a part of that Wales midfield for a long time, along with Ethan Ampadu. I think in the short time that he's been appearing for Wales, he's always one of the standout players on the pitch, in my opinion. And yeah, hopefully he can keep playing for Birmingham, and he can produce some of those performances for Wales as well, especially with the playoffs coming up in March. And but yeah, no, I really rate Jordan. I think he's a really, really good player.
And that's one of the players you really want to succeed because of the fact that he's still pretty young, having come through our academy system, and then obviously representing Wales on an international level already, just at 19 years of age. So it's just a fantastic story. But in terms of sort of what we can expect from Wednesday, what kind of game are you thinking is going to pan out? Like, is it going to be sort of possession based where one team dominates the ball, or is it going to be a bit of a back and forth?
I can see it being a bit of a back and forth, in all honesty. I think we're probably at our strongest when we're a little bit more attacking, or even just on the counter attack. We play quite a bit on the counter attack, but play the ball quite quick as well. So when we went away to Huddersfield, we won 4-0. Like we played quite a bit on the counter there and attacked when we needed to, but just made it count. So I think it could probably be a bit similar to that, quite textbook Cardiff that we've seen all year, really. I think kind of finding that right balance of, just keeping the ball and knowing when to attack, rather than what we saw last year where, we'd attack but just weren't producing anything in front of goals. Because even though we lost a lot, we very rarely got battered. I think our biggest loss in the league was 4-0 last year, or 4-1 maybe, away to Sheffield United towards the end of the season. So it was always just like 1-0s or 2-0s or 2-1s, which was just frustrating because, the chances we were wasting back then. And that's hopefully the thing of the past now, or it's looking like it's the thing of the past. So, yeah, I think we'll probably see probably fairly similar possession stats, and probably Cardiff trying to create a few attacks.
And you speak about goal score lines there. What is your score prediction for the game?
I think we'll win. Again, it's the whole Birmingham thing. Like, I've seen us play so badly against you guys so much. Like, it's just, I think
you guys will still win.
yeah. I think we'll win. I'd like to see us get a couple of goals. So I'm gonna say 3-1 to Cardiff.
I'm going for a Cardiff win as well. It's one of those things where I hate predicting my team to lose, right? But just in recent games, morale's just gone down a bit. And I'm hoping that the players can prove me wrong, because it often is with Birmingham the case where when you least expect it, they deliver a result. And I mean, with the record we've got against Cardiff, also in Cardiff as well, the fact that we've got a dreadful record there as well, I'm hoping for my sake that the game proves me wrong. But obviously with you guys, a win would probably take you into the top 6, wouldn't it? Because you're level on points with 6th place at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, we're level with Hull. I think Hull is 6th in a minute.
I think West Brom might be up there as well. So round about sort of them teams. But yeah, it's been a fantastic chat, Thomas. great to chat to you, and I'm sure we'll sort of have plenty of content coming out around the sort of time of the game. We've also got a live reaction with Tommy doing that. So just, yeah, if you want to shout out anything, Thomas, that's happening sort of on your channel, anything that you're up to at the moment.
Yeah, so I have a website which is more just generally sports based, called Sport Addict Corner. I do a bit of football on there, but also do a lot of rugby, boxing, NFL, just general sports bits. And I'm putting together a bit more of a structured plan for next year to get out more content, because I slacked a bit towards the back end of this year. So yeah, hopefully there'll be more exciting things coming in 2024.
But you've got a fantastic reason to now of Cardiff doing so well. So
oh, hell yeah.
look forward to seeing some stuff on your website. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, Thomas. It was a brilliant chat. Make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe to wrap to the video, and most importantly, keep right on.